welcome back to the third and final part of today's program of Perspective, the action-packed youth debate show. So our first two rounds have been very lively, packed full with very, very strong arguments, and before the break we know that the judges were impressed. But now we come to probably the hardest part of the program, the judges round, where the judges will be questioning the participants based on what you've said and also on the topic. So if I can ask both the members of the Three Lions and EYC Group to make sure that you're ready with responses, because this is not going to be easy, I can tell you that much. Okay, so judges, I'm going to ask you to just start giving questions and getting responses from the participants, but can I also ask that we get equal amount of questions for either side of today's debate. So I'm just going to pass it straight over to the judges. Would anyone like to start with a question? David,
I have a question for EYC, and broadening the topic slightly, because you have focused very much on phones. How happy would you be to see less of your teacher and more technology? In other words, do you need a teacher, or could you just replace him with technology?
Do you have a response to that? You've been stressing how helpful technology is for most of the show, so what's the need of a teacher?
Well, technology is very important and factual, but teachers can explain to you what internets can't, but at the same time using the internet is really good.
Okay, so David, does that satisfy you?
Yeah.
So can I ask another judge now if you have a question? Swiby?
I have a question for the Three Lions. I want to ask, I want to talk about cyberbullying a bit. How do you think, so I know that you said that sometimes the restrictions that have been put in place aren't working. Do you have any suggestions for maybe what we could do to put better safety measures in place for social media and technology in general in schools?
Okay, so every time that EYC Group 2 said that there are measures in place, you've mentioned that there's always ways around such measures and it's still not safe. So what is wrong? How could it be fixed? Do you have a response?
That's the thing. That's the problem. There is no way to stop it. Whenever they add a new feature, there's always one person trying to get around that feature. Like, there's always been some people who are trying so hard to get through to people's logins. Like when they add locations, like when they add like friends only, there are some people who pose to be their friends. They will pose to be their friends, and they will try and gain their friendship, but then you don't know if they're your friends or not.
Okay, so Swiber, sorry to disappoint you, but there simply is no fix. Mahmoud, would you like to give a question?
Yeah, I've got a question for EYC. So we know that there are measures in place, but it can be quite difficult to keep up with them. So how can you ensure that, first of all, the kids actually know these kind of measures, and how can you make sure that there's communication between the parents and the kids to make sure that these measures are into place to prevent some of the down points of having a smartphone?
Okay, so there are measures, but how can the students become aware of such measures?
Sometimes students they'll find out through other people, so they will always sometimes they may not find out that there are measures, but most of the time they will become aware of it, because news travels really quickly, so to keep safe it will travel even quicker.
Okay, so nowadays kids can watch the news, and also on their phones they can read about these new safety features. Does that satisfy you?
Yes, a good answer.
Okay, so judges, can I get a few more questions from you guys?
One for Three Lions, again using technology in schools. How would you feel if you were able to have a physics lesson given to you perhaps by Stephen Hawking, who I hope you've heard of, but given by Stephen Hawking over the internet, and he was coming straight into your classroom and talking to you. Would that not be impressive?
Okay, so Stephen Hawking, one of the world's greatest scientists and thinkers at the current moment. So if you could have a lesson through him, through the internet, perhaps over Skype, would you reject it? So I'm guessing you don't have a response for that, or do you have one?
If that was to happen, I would be happy, but because the students have no control of what's happening, the teachers are the ones who have control. Whereas here we're talking about how students would act on social media and technology, but in this case, teachers are the ones who are acting. They would be the ones opening up the Skype page and then answering to that call. Children will not be able to go on that piece of technology and change whatever they're doing. So the teachers are the ones who are in control instead of the students.
Okay, so for you, the teachers are able to control what happens on the internet, but what you're worried about is how the students would react differently, how each student would react differently in access.
An interesting argument.
Yeah, interesting response.
Yes.
Can I get another question, please?
I actually have another question for the three lions.
Okay.
So, obviously, in recent years is where we've seen this huge development in technology. Isn't it important to sort of move with the times? And because I know that you mentioned the point that, you know, in the past people have been able to use the libraries, they've survived without phones, they've been able to study and study well. But you know, if we have that option there, couldn't it be helpful to use it and just sort of accept it?
Yeah, okay, so if technology is moving at a very fast rate, why don't you jump onto the train and use that technology? Because I'm pretty sure if I took away one of your PlayStations and I left you in a room with a board game for 1 week, you wouldn't be very happy. So what would your response be?
It's helpful, but there's like... Can you repeat what you said?
Okay.
So we're seeing huge developments in technology. Could it not be, you know, people have survived in the past without it, but since we have it, why not use it?
Yeah.
Because some people might not use the technology in a good way. So what it's meant to be used for, they use it in a bad way.
Okay, so even though everyone has access to technology, there's no true way of controlling what way people use it. So even though it could be helpful in many aspects, there's always going to be one or two aspects where it's not helpful and it can harm rather than help. Mahmoud, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question for EYC. The boys brought up the distraction point, which is obviously a very strong point. Do you really think a mobile phone can be used for anything useful in school? Maybe just, you know, you can leave it at home. Yes, you can use the internet. You can look up where the Himalayas are or any mountain you want is. But do you really think you can actually use it in a positive, kind of efficient and productive way in school, whereas you can just leave it at home and use it there however you want?
Okay, so in school, where the #1 aim for any student is to learn, get knowledge, and, you know, pass the exams, where does a mobile phone fit in there?
It fits in there because it gives you a wider picture. Like if you were to search up something, it gives you a wider picture, and it's just like extended information.
Okay, so mobile phones can provide another path for students to access information once the teacher has given it to them, to look more in depth into the topic. So are you satisfied with that? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask for maybe just one more question from one of the judges, perhaps, or maybe two, one for each.
For EYC, I have a question in relation to fake news, which I think Adeep you mentioned. How, you know, isn't that a really big problem with social media? We already know that young people are sort of easily influenced because they are younger, and they do turn to their phones and websites and social media to find out information. But isn't there a huge danger, and we see it now currently, that, you know, some of the information that they're getting is inaccurate? And I know we spoke about the mountains, but even on a wider level to do with politics, just all these important issues. Isn't that a bit
so
of a danger?
Currently students are exposed to a lot of fake news which isn't actually real, which hasn't really been monitored by anyone. So would you have, how can you tackle that problem of students getting the wrong information?
Well, like if you were to listen to like your teachers, they will kind of advise you like on what certain websites they know has this like right information, like through maybe if it's been like scientifically discovered, or like if it's like a science lesson. So you're gonna kind of have to listen to your teacher and trust on what they're saying as well, and use the websites that have been kind of given to you.
Okay, so we come back to the point that teachers can also check over what the websites offer, and then as a result they can filter the correct websites to the students. Unfortunately, we don't have time for another question, because now what I'm going to need is for the judges to decide the winning team, and also who wins the speaker of this episode. So we have an award for the speaker of this specific debate, which is for the best speaker. It doesn't matter which team they come from, whether the winning or the losing one. It's just an award for one person out of the 6 today who was the best speaker, who gave their points well and expressed their views very well as well. So can I ask the judges first to tell us who the winning speaker is? I'm going to give you like a very short time to quickly discuss it over, and then tell us who won the speaker of today's debate award. Okay, so we've had a very, very action-packed debate today. First round in the speeches, we saw very, very powerful speeches coming from both sides. In the second round, we saw, strings of debate which were really powerful, getting really heated. We saw both sides really speaking to try and prove their point. And in the final round, we saw both teams get a true grilling from the judges, and we saw that they were put in some difficult situations, but they managed to come out of it, and they did have the responses for each questions that the judges gave them. So today we've had a very strong debate with two very, very strong teams. Okay, so judges, can I have first who won the speaker of the debate award first? So can you tell me?
Right, well, it was very close. Everyone spoke very well and took part very actively. However, after a lot of searching, we decided that the best speaker for today was
Adib.
Yeah.
Well done, Adib. Can I get a round of applause for Adib? Well done. You've won today's speaker of the debate award. Very well done to you, and I was very impressed with your speaking today as well. Okay, so can I also get the winning team from the judges, and after, can you very, very briefly just give me what you were impressed with and also what you look for in the future from other teams who are perhaps watching today's episode?
So, as David said, both teams spoke very well, really interesting and a difficult topic, but you both came out with some really good arguments. But we've decided that the winning team is EYC, so applause for them.
Well done to EYC Group 2. You guys are today's debate winning team, but I must say it was very, very close. The Three Lions put up a very, very good debate, but at the end of the day, EYC Group 2 came up on top. So judges, can you very briefly, maybe just one of you, give them some tips for the future on how they can improve?
So first of all, what was impressive was some of the stats, like I mentioned. You didn't just say the points; you backed them up with statistics and numbers as well. Another impressive point was how brave you guys were. Some of you were jumping on the microphone, which is a very good, thing to see. Maybe kind of next time, try and make your point a bit more relevant. So make sure you listen very carefully to what the other team is saying, and then try and pick up on whatever weak point they've mentioned, because always in an argument there's always a weak point that you can kind of react to.
Okay, thank you. A huge thanks to today's judges for all their hard work in picking the winning team, the Speaker of the Debate Award, and also giving the contestants some advice. And also a huge thanks to both teams today, because you really did provide us with a very lively and entertaining debate, I must say so myself. So that brings us to an end of another episode of Perspective, the action-packed youth debate show. We came in here on the topic of technology and social media in schools. We had the 3 Lions who were against it, and EYC Group 2 who were for the topic. But at the end of the day, it was EYC Group 2 who, you know, used their strong speaking and their bravery to come out on top. So congratulations to EYC Group 2, commiserations to the 3 Lions. It's the EYC Group 2 that head over into the semi-finals and our next round of Perspective. That's been me, your host, and if you want to catch up, find out more about Perspective, please visit www.europentv.com. and if you've missed a few episodes but you want to catch up, head over to our YouTube channel, Europe NTV, and also download the app on your phone. I'm sure most of you have phones nowadays, as we've been debating today, so download the NTV Europe app. Make sure you stay informed and you keep close to Perspective, because we have got episodes coming up for you, very, very enjoyable episodes. So today's one, it was very lively. I'm sure all 3 judges are very happy with what they've seen. But until the next time, that's it from me and the judges.